Are you limerent or crushing on someone else when you are already in a relationship? Perhaps you are attached to someone or you're already married and you are struggling with this limerent feelings for someone else. If you are, then this video is for you. Okay, today's video is a little bit on a heavier topic because I've read a couple of stories, okay, and have had people come to me about them or their partner being limerent for someone else whilst they are in a relationship. Also, I was unfortunately in a similar situation myself years back where I was obsessing over someone else whilst in a 5-year relationship with my partner. Okay, so I do talk quite a bit from my own experience as well. And for many of these cases, I would just like to say, that it's fantastic that you are aware of this, or no, that you are pining and obsessed with someone else who is not your partner, whilst you are actually with your partner. Okay, so this is the first step, awareness. But a bigger question to ask, and which we will explore in this video, is why did this even happen in the first place? Okay, why are you limerent for someone else when you are actually with your partner? Okay, so some questions to ask, is what is actually going on within you and within your relationship that you are actually pining for someone else. Okay, so let's talk about these things. First, let's do a recap of limerence. Okay, so it's basically a lack of connection with yourself and your life. Okay, many limerent people, you may find this familiar as well, experience feelings of social isolation and report being very lonely in general in life, which is my second point. Loneliness, which can even happen, when you're in a group of friends, when you are attached, when you are hanging out with people and doing many things, you can still feel alone. Um, Loneliness is usually connected to a lack of connection. Okay, so the first 2 points are linked to one another. A third point, okay, given to fantasizing more than living in reality. So a lot about limerence is, you fantasize and imagine a lot of stuff about your limerent object, and it all exists only in your head. And another thing about limerence is that, there's a certain lack of purpose in your life. So many limerent people that I've met have also felt, feelings of boredom, of emptiness, and things like that. Okay, and there's also another sign that some people just don't feel comfortable addressing. But we have to go there for this video. Okay, um, and it requires a bit of a more deeper, thoughtful examination of the main relationship in your life. Okay, which is the elephant in the room. Okay, the biggest reason for this, okay, sometimes, and this can actually make for uncomfortable, discussion, is that you are limerent for someone else, okay, whilst in a supposedly committed relationship or marriage because of the following reasons. Firstly, you might have gotten into the relationship or marriage for all the wrong reasons. Okay. Secondly, perhaps the both of you um you aren't a good fit for each other, okay, or the relationship or the dynamic, something about it isn't a great fit for you. Okay. And thirdly, you may be disconnected from or actually not even in love with your partner. You may not even like them. Okay. These things can sometimes come as a shock to us because we think that, oh, we are with a person, so we automatically like them, but that is usually not the case. Okay, love can be a little bit complex. Okay, so these are, of course, really deep reasons, because when we're talking about issues in your relationship and marriage, it can't, be solved in this like 15-20 minute video on YouTube. Okay, it may require professional help. Okay, but I do hope that this video, starts to give you some food for thought. Though I know that it makes for quite uncomfortable digestion. Okay, so into the first reason. Okay, let's unpack some of these three main reasons a little bit. So the first reason, you are in the relationship or the marriage for the wrong reasons. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so quite a number of people refuse to actually acknowledge this, okay, although some are starting to see the light, that romantic relationships and marriage are just not for everybody. Okay, some of us are just not cut out to be the right kind of partner for anyone. And for the longest time, because of socialization, because of, governments and legal systems and things like that, that has been passed down from one generation to the next, one culture to the next, many of us have felt the urge, almost like an obligation to be in a romantic relationship with someone, which, ultimately leads to marriage. And certain cultures, I do know of some, still negatively stereotype people who are single past a particular age, calling them, stuff like, left on the shelf, unwanted, and weird, and stuff like that. So when you have stigma against, people who are not married or not in, romantic relationships, it's not a stretch at all that, people feel, forced to be in a relationship or marriage in some way as a response to peer and societal pressure. Okay, so that's one reason that people, get together with other people. But besides feeling societal pressures, people also get into, relationships for all sorts of other reasons, other than, compatibility and love and truly liking your partner and wanting to spend your life with them. Okay. Some of them could be the following. So perhaps, firstly, to feel a sense of belonging with most of society, because like I said, it's socially acceptable to be married and attached, and socially unacceptable to be the opposite. Secondly, it could also be for companionship and to stave off loneliness, which I said before. Loneliness is actually a disconnect with yourself. Thirdly, there could be a feeling as well that nobody else would like you, besides your current partner. So why do I need to go out and find someone else? Yeah, I'm not worthy of anybody else's love except my partner's. Another big one is that people get together with other people to change them, okay? Fix them, make them better people at the expense of yourself and the expense of your partner as well. So when you're not clear about your intentions of being with someone, you don't know yourself very well before you get into a relationship, you feel some sort of pressure, you unintentionally use the relationship as a source of emotional support to get some sort of, to fill some sort of void in your life, to make yourself feel whole. All these reasons that has got nothing to do with love, actually, can lead to a dynamic which can make it very easy to fall for someone else, and I'm talking about your limerent object, who gives you some sort of attention or gives you some sort of a source of, fantasy thinking down the road. Okay, so the above qualities, when I was talking about like why people get into relationships, like the loneliness and all that, right? All these qualities are actually coincidentally the exact emotions that limerents also experience frequently. Okay, but the thing here to kind of remember and to really bear in mind is that relationships require qualities like effort, commitment from both people, mutual love, respect, care, affection, kindness. Marriage is a whole different ball game. Okay, a whole different thing. Sometimes it's okay to just say that, hey, I am not suitable for relationships. I am not suitable to be a good marriage partner. It's okay. It's okay. It's 2023 as of the date that I'm recording this. It is okay to, just say like, hey, I'm not good for either of these things. And this is also, on this point, one of the things that should start asking yourself, are you a good fit for a romantic relationship or a marriage? I don't think many people ask themselves this question. We just assume that we are because we think that we need to get married. No, we don't. Okay. No, we don't need to be attached as well. So it's something that we don't really ask ourselves. We just assume that, we are all suitable because we all have to be in a relationship or we all have to be married. But, sometimes you're just not suitable for either, and that's fine. And so this is one question to ask yourself. And the other question, in case I'm rambling too much, is to really ask yourself like um why are you in a relationship? What are you looking for in a relationship? Are you looking for someone who is just gonna fill a void? Or, are you genuinely, looking for someone to really, really spend your life with? You know, food for thought. Okay. So with that in mind, let's move on to the next reason, which is that your relationship or your marriage partner isn't actually a good fit for you. Okay. So Sometimes you just have to admit that, um, you know, many people, many of us, we are not able to discern what makes a good partner from a not so good one. Okay, we have never really been taught in school, or we know when we were children, to really understand what we want in a romantic relationship and what qualities to seek out for in a partner. Okay, and who to be as well, what kind of partner we should be as well. Excuse me. And if we were to want a relationship that is, mutually loving, caring, respectful, and fulfilling, how do we actually look for these qualities in someone? We are just, many of us are just expected to, get out there, start dating, get into relationships and get married, like we are experts. But many of us, most of us, all of us are not experts. We are just feeling our way through romance, feeling our way through a marriage. And I always personally advocate for the importance of, looking out for early signs on dates that the person is a good potential or not a good fit for you. Okay, so qualities to look out for are like, honesty, respect, similar values, financial compatibility, and trust. They go a long way to building a healthy, intimate relationship. Okay, another thing to look out for, which I feel that most people don't really pay attention to on dates, is, the red flags, the red flag behavior. um, Many of us have no idea how to look out for red flag behavior, or what even constitutes red flag behavior on dates. Um, so, marriage and romance is a whole lot more than just like, oh, looking good, status, and oh, you like me, I like you, okay, let's get together and get married. It's a lot more than that. Okay. Um, if the base or the groundwork that the romance is being laid upon is not strong and sturdy, it can give way to lots of things, temptation, distractions, and other people, making you feel a certain way down the road. Perhaps, you are someone who needs to hear a lot of praise, from your partner, but your partner doesn't give you that. But, the guy at work, the guy in the next cubicle, he always tells you how gorgeous you look. Guess who you'll be thinking of, after a while. Yep. So yeah, you get a picture, and actually to know whether a relationship is right for you or not, you really got to know yourself first. And yeah, because how would you actually know who out there is a good fit for you or not if you don't know yourself? And what you want, or what doesn't work for you, what is a red flag for you, what's a deal breaker, what does love look like for you, what partner do you want? um these are things that we don't actually really ask ourselves. Okay, so a lot of relationship experts or coaches, whatever you call them, um they like to teach you how to all these dating tricks and techniques and things like that. These are great for sure, but it's like covering a wound with a band-aid over and over again. Okay, the dating tips will be very temporary if you have not worked on yourself. Okay, because when you do not work on yourself, all these dating tips and techniques, sometimes they do not work as well, because you're like, I'm doing all these things, that my coach or this guru that I'm actually following is actually teaching me, but I'm not getting the results I want. Is because you do not know yourself well, which is why I advocate so much, so much about really, really building a very strong sense of self. Okay, so that's the second reason. Perhaps your relationship or marriage partner isn't a good fit for you. um, the third reason, okay, you are disconnected from or not actually in love with your partner. Okay, this happens. Okay, this happens. Um, it's very easy for boredom to set in when you've been with someone for a while, or you're, in a long term relationship or in a marriage. Um, which is why it is important. And I always advocate for this as well, to be honest about your feelings about your relationship and your partner from the get go and as you go along. Okay, um, honesty and communication is just really, really important, but it's just so difficult to do, and people just don't like to do it. But the hardest things are always the right things to do. Okay, always remember that. And it's not just about honesty to your partner, about coming clean with things, but it's also honesty to yourself, okay, about what your partner or the relationship means to you. Okay, communication, okay, and shared values as well. very important ingredients as well, besides honesty, that hold a relationship together and enable a stronger connection. Communication shouldn't be superficial. Okay, many times it is. Okay, we don't say what we really think and feel. And that is when all the problems and miscommunication, misunderstandings, and assumptions and what have you come up. Okay, it should be consistent, it should be exploratory, it should be deep. And communication, the interaction also needs to happen together with active listening. Love is, as I've been saying this already, is something that requires effort and consistency. So when a couple is not really, in tune with each other, it can be very easy to fall for someone else, start having fantasies about the person in your office, fantasies about the celeb that you always see on TV. That's when you start getting distracted, and various temptations come in outside of the relationship, and it looks like, oh, these new people look so good, they're all shiny new people, they all look perfect for me. Yeah, there's this is not like a plug or an affiliate or anything, but I've been, listening to this really cool divorce attorney, James Sexton. He kind of talks a lot about, about marriage and relationships and all that on YouTube. You can just look up some of his videos. Um, and he gives very grounded advice. And one of the things that he actually mentioned about, like, how couples end up divorced and end up in his office, is that they stop connecting with one another. And the connections are not even like huge connections. It's not about like sex or whatever. It's sometimes it's just about leaving notes, to each other and telling each other how you feel, about each other. Like, hey, babe, I had a great time last evening. We had a great dinner with you, and you look great today. Can't wait to see you after work. Things like that. The little ways in which you actually connect with your partner. It doesn't have to be big stuff, not at all. It's these little connections that, slowly when it's lost, that's when you start, getting disconnected from your relationship and from your partner. And the fourth reason, okay, a lack of purpose, emptiness, and boredom in your life. So what do I mean by this? So outside of your relationship, um, something to ask yourself, outside of a relationship, have you ever had the chance to cultivate some hobbies? Do you have hobbies outside of your partner, or is your partner your hobby? um do you have you cultivated a sense of purpose and meaning in your life, as well as actively trying to connect with yourself? Okay, so what I've observed, and lots of people that I see in my practice as well, is that many people let their interests, their lives, their and connecting with themselves fall by the wayside, particularly when they are in a relationship. Okay, so when we build our lives and our identities around things that are external to us, our work, our jobs, other people, how they make us feel, even if they were a spouse or a partner, it can make it really difficult to, get to know ourselves, because there's no internal, awareness or reflection going on. This is why when there are issues, with work, or, with your partner, with your marriage, it can be very difficult to find an outlet to fall back upon, because, we don't have that inner resource, we don't have that inner space, where we can go and reflect and be ourselves and recharge, and things like that. Also, when you're not focused on cultivating yourself, it can mean, that there is actually very little, of you that you may be bringing to the relationship. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Um, Usually when you are not, doing things that are outside of the partnership, like, it just could be anything simple like a hobby. Okay, your relationship or dynamic is then, it becomes very stale, because, you go to work, you come back, then you have kids, you have the in-laws, you have your parents to entertain, you have this and that to do. It's very easy for a dynamic to actually become stale. Okay, and when it becomes stale, you start to then, you're not even connected to yourself in the first place, right? When it starts to get stale, it means that you're not connected to your partner as well. So when that happens, it can be then very easy to fall for someone else outside of the relationship, to get limerent for them, or start obsessing over them, things like that, and start forming attachments with them. Maybe they smile at you, or they show you a bit of attention, and you're, oh my God, my partner doesn't even do this. So, when we've lost the connection with ourselves, don't even have that in the first place. And we slowly lose the connection with our partner. That is when you start having all these, like, and you crave love, and you still, of course, everyone wants love, right? Love and happiness and freedom, very key things in the human existence. When you start you know having those disconnects in your life, but you still crave love and affection, guess where you'll be looking to outside of a relationship? Of course, you'll be looking to that celebrity, thinking about them, looking at that guy on the bus, the guy in office, he's so hot, he smiled at me, took me to lunch, he paid for my lunch, he picked me, he dropped me off, after work, he's so cool. Things like this start to form. And then, as with limerence, there are really underlying, issues, attachment issues. Um, so with limerence, it just builds, the fantasy just builds and builds and builds, and before you know it, you are like completely like obsessed with this other person that is not your partner. Okay. Um, so talking so much about all this, how do you actually fix it? Okay. Um, Again, a lot of my work goes back to getting to know yourself. Okay. And in this context, feeling limerence for someone else whilst in a relationship already can be a pretty complex situation. Okay. Because there are a couple of things, or rather two things, you're navigating here. So the limerent feelings itself, complete with the rumination, the emotional upheaval, the obsessing, and all that about this other person. And then at the same time, you're questioning your commitment to and your feelings for your spouse. Okay, it's a very uncomfortable place to be in. Okay, trust me, I've been there. And you're probably dealing with feelings like guilt, shame, not knowing how to talk about limerence to them, and so on. Um, but before we even get to this point, it is actually incredibly important to always ask yourselves, what was not going well already in your life before you met your partner, and secondly, what was not going well in the relationship prior to the limerence event. Okay. um some things to ask yourself, and some people are just not aware of this when you're single, or rather not aware of this when the limerent episode doesn't happen. But it's actually important to go back into your history, and dig through those memories and ask yourself, have you always felt limerence for other people before you got into your current relationship? Because from what I've noticed from some of my clients, um there is actually a pattern of limerence, or they have been really obsessed with someone before they met their current partner, or before they got with their current partner, but they didn't know that that was limerence. Okay, so it's helpful to actually think about that, reflect on it. um because limerence as well tends to show up at different times in life for different people. Okay. When you have not healed those childhood wounds, you have not connected with yourself, you haven't allowed yourself to let go of certain things, you will find that in times of stress, or like boredom or emptiness, or you're just feeling very down, limerence can happen. Okay, so there are certain triggers of limerence, and we all each have different triggers, so you need to be aware of yours as well. So, just ask yourself, what is missing in your life? Is it a purpose? Do you need a purpose? Do you need a calling? Are there hobbies that you want to connect to that you are, not actually interested in, or, as in not even interested in engaging in? Um, because there's a reason that you are feeling empty and bored. And I say this, like, I talk about this like a broken record, but you're not connected to yourself. And the easiest way to connect to yourself is actually doing what you like. Okay, so start by doing what you like and connecting with yourself again. Okay, and also asking yourself, what does being in a relationship mean to you? What does love mean? You know, um, do you think you are someone who is relationship material? Um, things like that. Things that we never ask ourselves, or we never told to ask ourselves. But these are important, in getting to know why you have reached this stage of obsessing about someone else who is not your partner. Um, yeah. So these are some things that you can actually start to do to get to know yourself better, get to know your relationship better, and get to know your partner better as well. Okay, so this is some food for thought. Okay, like I said, this is turning into a long video because it's a complex topic, right? But being limerent for someone else, okay, is actually a type of emotional affair. Okay, in some sense, because you're pining after or intensely obsessing or fantasizing about someone. Okay, it could be celeb, colleague, friend, whatever. Doesn't matter, okay? But you are actually already in a committed relationship with someone else and you are fantasizing about another man or another woman. Okay. Yeah, let's call it what it is. And it is actually not really okay and it's not really normal because a lot of people who are limerent for other people when they are in a relationship already and come to me and they're like they try to explain it away. They're try to explain the limerence away, but when you're trying to explain something away, it really shows that something within you already thinks that it is not right. Okay, because being so entangled emotionally with another person and pining for them instead of your partner, okay, shows some pretty deep issues in your relationship. Okay, which has probably been allowed to fester for some time. It also points to unhappiness and dissatisfaction with your partner in your relationship. And at the same time, you may also be neglecting the connection with yourself. I keep saying this, and allowing life to just happen without, feeling much of a purpose or engagement with it. Okay, so just a little bit of my story. Years ago, I was seeing this guy. We have been together for about like 3-4 years. Our relationship ended in 5 years, but during the entire, like most of the 3-4 years, I was limerent for other people. So I was constantly like mooning over like celebrities that I saw, random guys that I see in my office, and then constantly just obsessing and thinking about them. Like I would save pictures of them and actually look at them instead of my partner. Okay. And there was something wrong because firstly, yeah, I wasn't really very connected with myself. But another problem was that I didn't really like my partner. I didn't really like him. I didn't think we were compatible, but I just stayed together with him for many, many weird reasons that I won't get into here. Um, so yeah, heal your limerence and ensure that, whenever you are in a relationship with someone, it's for the right reasons. If you're already in a relationship, perhaps you just need a reminder of why you love them in the first place. Limerence can be pretty self-centered behavior with or without a partner, but with a partner beside you, it's even more of a selfish act, okay, given how hurt your partner could be if they find out that you have feelings for someone else. Imagine if the tables were flipped and your partner came and told you that they were limerent for someone else. How would you feel? So it's best to nip it in the bud early before it starts to damage your most intimate relationships. Okay? So just moving on a little bit to my resources, I have my book linked in my description down below. It's How to Break Up with Limerence. I have a lot of the reasons why limerence happens and all the strategies in place as well if you'd like to grab it. And I also have a Healing from Limerence workshop that I ran recently, and we talked about, two really, really important topics in limerence. You can grab that in the link down below as well. Um, and another resource that I'd like to introduce to you is a Reconnecting with Your Real Self workshop. I have the sign up form in the description box, and this is really, really important for limerence because, as we know, um, many of us limerent people, we are not connected with ourselves. So hopefully, this workshop will help you get that process started. I've also linked two other important resources in the description. One book, a guidebook on self love, and the other on self esteem. So I go through various strategies and different things you can do to start, building up your self love and your self esteem. And so yeah, so you can grab that in the links down below. So once again, thanks guys. And if you would like more videos on the self, on personal growth, relationships, limerence, friendships, boundaries, whatever it is, check out the playlist and the videos that I have. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.